This is probably the sound of the tower that every TDS player aspires to, and the truth is no wonder. This tower is basically the flagship when talking about the best towers in this game. But is it really the best? Well, today we are going to see, or rather we are going to compare these two towers, the Accelerator and the Engineer, to see once and for all which tower is the best in all aspects, since, well, you will see later that both have very positive things and at the same time very bad. Well, before starting, I quickly make the invitation to the Discord server so that you can join the community. Now, let's move on to what we're here for today. Which tower is better? Well, to start, I'd like to divide the video into two parts. One for the theory, and mostly talking about the mechanics of each tower, and then after that I'll do some tests to show if the engineering in this case has reached the level of the Accelerator, or if it's still bad compared to this tower. Well, I'd like to start with the tower that we all know perfectly, the Accelerator. When this tower came out, it was truly a revolution in the game, since it made things easier. Literally, if you saw a player with this tower, it was very certain that you would win. So when this tower came out, it was totally different from the one we have now. The Accelerator has an attack that affects lead zombies and detection of hidden objects. Although, as we already know, before we had detection at level 0, but they changed it to level 1. And here's an important point. If I had to compare the Accelerator from before with the Engineer 100%, the Accelerator would win, since this tower has been very, very nerfed. And why? Well, the nerfs started when the Engineer came out, but it still remains one of the best towers in the game. The tower has an initial damage of 10 with a cadence of 0.2 seconds, and has a maximum damage of 45 in a tenth of a second, which makes it have a DPS of 284. Counting the reload time, and adding all the accelerators that you can put, we get a DPS of 2,272. And let's see. Here I want to start talking about the bad thing about the Accelerator, which is what we all know when attacking the Accelerator gets stuck on a single enemy, making it so that if a faster enemy passes at that moment, it can cause us problems. Another bad thing about the Accelerator that, well, is who implemented it in the game, is the reload. The Accelerator can only be working for a limited time, since it needs to cool down to be able to attack again. And although at maximum level it already has enough attack time, in the same way the one that does not attack for a while can decide the game. They are really the only bad things I see about the Accelerator, besides being nerfed every update. But now I would like to move on to the Engineer, since we all know the Accelerator, but the Engineer, although it has only been used after 1 year, could it really compete with it with all the buffs it has received? Well, as we already know, the Engineer appeared in the Duck event, and since then it has had a very bad reputation. Since from the first minute it came out, the cost that the tower received made us dream of a tower that would 100% surpass the Accelerator. Since its cost is no joke, 4,500 gems is what this tower costs. And really, as I say, for the price we expected the Second Avenue of God or something. But well, after all the criticism and updates since its release, the Engineer at the time of uploading this video has the following statistics. Well, first of all, it has everything, and you'll say everything. Yes, everything. It has an attack on lead zombies, flying zombies, and hidden zombies. In addition to saying that the turrets it creates at level 5 already have hidden detection, which makes them stop being so bad. Since the main improvements that have been made to the Engineer are in its turrets. First were the shields that protect them from stuns, and then the increase in damage. And well, speaking of damage, we have here that the DPs of the Engineer's tower alone does 91 DPs, and a turret does approximately 90, which makes an Engineer at maximum level with all her turrets achieve a DPS of more than 450, and later I will put the comparison between the data of the two in a better way. The bad things about the Engineer really fall more on the turrets. When creating the turrets, the Engineer stops firing, which in high rounds of the game does not matter much, but for example in the hardcore strategy it does matter, and without going any further, it is still a problem that the turrets disappear with a stun from some boss, or some zombie with stuns, since after the shield they have nothing, and it is quite easy for all that DPs to disappear in a second. And well, I want to put a table here to compare both towers. After having said this, as you can see, the Accelerator is left with a negative point in this section for not having detection of flying enemies, which, well, really is not a big problem since there are few modes that have flying enemies. In this section of the DPS, we have that the Engineer wins by quite a bit to the Accelerator. We can see that the Accelerator between all of them gives a DPS of 2,272, and the Engineer has 2,700. So again, the Engineer wins in this section. But I would like to put something important in comparison here. And that puts the doubt of whether you really should buy the Engineer first or not. And I am talking about the price. For the Accelerator, we have a price of 2,500 gems, while the Engineer has a price of 4,500. In addition to needing 10 more levels than the Accelerator, we can see that there is a difference of 2,000 gems. Which, well, if it says easy, but to get 2,500 gems, it would take you approximately 6 hours, taking an average of 45 minutes per game, and using the same average, to get 4,500 gems you would need approximately 11 hours to get the Engineer, which is basically double. So in my opinion, you should buy the Accelerator first, and then the Engineer. Since the Engineer, although it has more damage than the Accelerator, the latter is still the best option between the two towers, since the good part of the Engineer is its abilities. I mean the attack on lead and flyers, but really the Accelerator does a better job against lead, and for flyers, it is not so necessary since, as I said, there are not many ways with these enemies. So in conclusion, I can currently assure that the Engineer is better than the Accelerator, but its cost is what dictates which one to buy first, and apart from all the nerfs that have been done to the Accelerator, it is still a very good tower. And well, now I will put the practical comparisons. I will only put DJ and the tower itself against all the bosses in the game to compare. And well, people, that's all for this video. Maybe in the future I will compare other towers without making a tier list. But well, see you next time.